what's going on, guys? This is hashtag TMN. Just kind of coming to you. I've been trying to get this thing on YouTube working, and so far I haven't had any luck. I don't know what the deal is. It's like it will upload completely, and then at the very end it says that it can't upload. So it's a problem that I'm working on. Hopefully I get it figured out. No promises, but if I can't get the other video I uploaded to work, then I guess this will have to be my first one. I'm just going to talk kind of real briefly about Hardcore Justice from the other night. I was actually really pleasantly surprised with it. I thought that it was actually a really good show. I was concerned with it at first because with everything that was going on with Kurt and with everything that unfortunately has been going on with Hulk and some of the other issues, I thought there was going to be some problems. It ended up not really being that big of a problem. I kind of saw Tito turning heel. I'm pretty sure just about everybody did. I don't know if that was just them having to book on the fly or if that was something that they had planned to do from the beginning. But it actually ended up working out pretty well. I think it was a little over the top, hitting him in the back of the head with a hammer and stuff like that, just because I think that this whole association is going to end up hurting TNA and Bellator as a whole, because people will either think that TNA is overly campy and overly done, or they're going to start thinking that Bellator is fake. Either one is something that neither company wants, and I don't know if that's really something that they've thought about, but it's something they need to think about. I won't dwell on that too long. I don't like dwelling on negatives. On the positive side, the ladder match was actually a really good, solid match. I was a little bit upset, I wouldn't say upset, but just a little bit disappointed more that there wasn't really that much ladder interaction. There was a couple of spots where people were thrown into the ladder and stuff like that, but nothing that you've come to expect from a typical ladder match. And maybe that's just because our standards have been set too high or something like that, but I wasn't a big fan of it. As far as a ladder match goes, I wasn't a big fan of it. As far as just a wrestling match, I thought it was a really good match. I thought the four of those guys went out there, they busted their butts. I mean, the ending was kind of blown a little bit with the whole Appletini, like, completely missing Jeff, but that's a different story. That was a really good match. I was pleasantly surprised by that. The next match that would have just, I guess, tied into that would have been the table match, and I think the ending there was pretty predictable with Bobby Roode going over there for a little bit. I did think that he was going to lose, but it ended up working out pretty well. The story was told really well because now Bobby Roode is number 2, and like he pointed out 2 weeks ago, nobody would have ever thought that was going to be an issue. So I think that was actually a really good deal for him. Just a little bit of a kind of complaint as far as that's concerned. Right now, they have Bobby Roode and Magnus in the first 2 places. And it's not that I think either of those guys will do a bad job. But with Bully Ray winning against Chris Sabin, right now you're looking at a possibility of either Bobby Roode versus Bully Ray or Magnus versus Bully Ray. And it's nothing personal against those guys. I think they're very talented. I think Bobby Roode is one of the top heels in the business today. My problem is he's not a marquee player yet for TNA. And that's a lot on TNA for their inability to build stars. But I feel like if you're heading into TNA's WrestleMania, basically, that you need somebody who's solid, not just in the sense of ability, but somebody who the fans know, they recognize, they can get behind. And I'm not saying that you need to throw Bully Ray in there against a Kurt Angle or a Jeff Hardy, but if you're dealing with long-term and established, you're looking at guys like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, people like that the crowd is really going to relate to, because for the entirety of TNA, those guys have been pushed as main event players. And up until the past few years, Bobby Roode has always been a tag team player. It's a minor complaint, but it's something that I feel like the creative team kind of needs to look at, is making that main event match seem like the biggest match on the biggest pay-per-view for TNA. That went off on a bit of a tangent, and I'm sorry about that. What it boils down to is I don't have a problem with TNA. I love TNA. I've watched them since the very beginning, and honestly, if they can make it past that first few months that they had, where I don't know if you guys ever watched any of that stuff, but it was just, there was an entire section of wrestle crap devoted to just the beginning of TNA. They've made it this far. They've showed that they have the ability to make it farther. They just have to learn from their mistakes and move on. And I'm not saying to fire Hulk Hogan or can Eric Bischoff or anything like a lot of these people are calling for, because Hulk Hogan can actually be very, very beneficial to a wrestling company as long as he's not the centerpiece. I'll say the exact same thing about Kurt Angle, about Jeff Hardy, about a lot of these guys that were big stars somewhere else. Your company should not be built around them. It should include them. By all means, it should include them. But it doesn't need to be centered around them. And that's something that I think that TNA has learned, and I feel like they're slowly starting to work around, because if you look at their recent performances, they're centering more around the younger guys. I mean, 10 out of 12 of the Bound for Glory guys are TNA guys. Only Mr. Anderson and Jeff Hardy were WWE creations. So I think it's something that they're learning from, but it's something that with all these budget cuts and financial issues and everything that people have been talking about, that they need to truly address, or it's going to end up costing them more money they can afford. This actually ended up being a little bit more of a rant video than I meant to. Sorry. Ended up being a little bit more of a rant video than what I intended it to be. It was meant more as a review video, and I promise the next video will be a little bit more focused and actually have kind of a point to it. I wasn't planning on originally doing this video. I was just going to kind of see how it worked with being in the car, if this worked as something that would end up being able to be broadcast. So if you've stayed here this long, I appreciate it, and I promise you future videos will get a lot better. But I just wanted to kind of touch base with you guys, let you guys know who I am, and that if you like what I say, or even if you don't, and if you want to discuss it, then come and visit us on Facebook. We are at facebook.com/thisistheiwc. It's a great group. We've got a lot of great admins, a lot of really good fan interaction, and we're just wanting to grow. And if you'd like to discuss anything that I've said today, feel free. Come and join us. Come and let us know your opinion. That's the great thing about the IWC, is that we're all open to everybody's opinions, and we're all willing to grow. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys watching this video. And if you made it this far, appreciate it. Until next time, this is #TMN, signing off.